What a legendary performance we saw this past weekend. I mean, how long do we have to go before we start calling this guy the GOAT, the greatest of all time? It was absolute domination. Of course, I'm talking about Spawn and Todd McFarlane selling more exclusives over at Megacon this past weekend. Also, it would have been appropriate for me to say that the Eagles just kicked the Kansas City Chiefs' asses. Holy moly, what was that? Todd McFarlane moved more books than the Kansas City Chiefs could move the ball up and down the sidelines. Is Todd McFarlane more dominant at comic books than Patrick Mahomes is at football? The defensive front just shut Patrick Mahomes down. They made him look like a journeyman quarterback. It was unbelievable. But also unbelievable was the amount of comic books that moved this past weekend, which is why in this video, I wanted to do a little bit of a market roundup, talking about Megacon, also the Super Bowl commercial with Thunderbolts, and some of the cultural comic books that also moved in relation to the Super Bowl. But of course, before I get to it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps out the channel doing those things. But check this out. Todd McFarlane on his Facebook, cool Megacon Orlando exclusive Spawn 360 sketch cover by Brett Booth. Grab yours at the merch booth by the main ticketing hall starting Thursday, 2-6, $40 each with a limit of 3. And there you guys see it. The hottest book coming out of Megacon, at least in terms of the secondary market prices and the amount of volume that has actually been selling. But it's crazy to see that because even with a list price of $40, I mean, guys, gals, look at how many sales there are for this book. I mean, this is like a new kind of FOMO. And, you know, it's been a little while since I think we've had conversations about con exclusives. You know what I mean? I feel like New York Comic Con, the exclusives that came out of that show 2 years ago, it just killed it, right? There were too many, it went overboard, and I think everyone got burned out. Like, I think genuinely exclusives became a bit of a meme in the comic book land for some time. I mean, nobody wanted to say it. I mean, you almost couldn't brand your comic book as an exclusive, right? Because it was just like a joke. Obviously, it wasn't very exclusive. So you had to say like, oh, here's our variant that we're bringing to San Diego, but it's just the variant, not the exclusive. But now I feel like it's been long enough. You know, people have gone to the point where they've kind of forgotten, and now they're willing to spend $400 on the sketch variant with a Todd McFarlane signature. $84 here, $90 there, 102 live auction, $84, $85, $100, $80, $90, $80, $80, $80, $100, $100, $120, $75, slash price of $400, $100, $120, $120, $100, $140, $100, $100, $130. Now that's actually 3 copies right there. But over and over and over and over, you see it, guys. I mean, it's really, I don't know, flabbergasting. Is that a word? Flabbergasting? It's just amazing to see it, how much movement is out there for these kind of exclusives. And this is definitely going to be, the biggest ticket item, I think, coming out of the show. But it's not just Spawn that was actually selling at the show, although Spawn was probably the number one. It's a lot of the usual suspects that you would think about when it comes to what's out there in the market selling right now. I mean, we had Mark Spears' Monsters second print for his number 1 issue. The Megacon exclusive right there featuring the werewolf on the cover, selling for $180. Here was another Megacon book that could actually show its way on a lot of hot lists right here, or at least some shakers out there in the market, is this Stan Lee homage to the trading card. Now, we've already had many conversations on the channel already talking about how Marvel trading cards are, starting to get a little bit of momentum, starting to be kind of a thing. I mean, imagine if we start to do, cover swipes to some of the, iconic trading card art, and we start to put them on comic books. Maybe that's a way to sell to, some of the trading card collectors. I mean, everybody remembers this Stan Lee Series 1 card from the Marvel Universe set. I mean, that was one of the, most popular cards even at that time, even though the set in it of itself is not actually very rare. But, you put that on a comic book, all of a sudden it's something that people want to match on their shelf. So here you have another sale, 140 right there, 140 right there. But, I bring this all up to just show you guys that there was tons and tons of exclusives being sold at Megacon this year. And a lot of people were like sliding into my DMs being like, swag, if Megacon is an indication of what is going to be happening with comic books this year, it's going to be a good year for comic books. It's going to be a real good year for comic books. And that was actually one of my predictions, going into 2025. I made mention in my prediction video that I kind of felt like this was finally the year where cons were really going to hit that pre-COVID level of attendance and excitement. And now people are really excited to buy books like this. Now, I'm not actually really sure why anyone is wanting to buy this specific book. Oh, maybe it's because it says Marvel Rivals up there. That must be the reason. But yeah, a lot of exclusives once again selling out there on the secondary market. And yeah, the usual suspects. You got books like this selling, which again, who knows why anyone wants to buy Vampirella books, but they do. They always do. You got Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman also having sales out there in the secondary market. So it's kind of feeling like, exclusives are back. Are they back? Should I put that on the thumbnail? Exclusives are back. Maybe that'll be in the title instead. But, I just thought it was interesting. It was a big weekend for comic books coming out of Megacon, coming from Todd McFarlane, coming from, Mark Spears, and coming from all these, various retailers. And even other usual suspects like this. Of course, we have the Magik Peach Momoko cover that is also going to be, kind of one of the hottest books coming out of this show. Magik right now, I feel like is on another level as far as like this character, coming up on the map and just really being a huge, moment in time for pop culture. I think that has a lot to do with the Marvel Rivals effect. It's probably a culmination of many things. I mean, Magik obviously has her new solo series that, is being pushed by Marvel. But I think, there's a bunch of factors that have all kind of coalesced to make this moment in time for Magik right now. But again, a lot of her books selling. Peach Momoko, perfect artist for this type of character to get people to want to pick it up. But overall, a big weekend for comic books at the con, but also coming off of the Super Bowl as well. We had the Thunderbolts trailer that dropped during the Super Bowl. We got a little bit more information. And I think probably the big thing coming out of that trailer is that we got to see the first look of the Sentry character. And I have to say, I think that the movie looks pretty cool. It's a little bit samey for me, right? Kind of the same jokes, same kind of, Suicide Squad kind of, beats and plot points and all that sort of thing. But it feels like it's executed well, right? That's kind of my interpretation of when I watch this trailer. So I'll go see it and hopefully it ends up being pretty good. But a lot of people in the comic book market think that it is going to be pretty good because what do you know? Even with all of the, times that we've seen various trailers, all of the times there's been announcements that the Sentry is coming, into the Thunderbolts movie again and again and again. Every time we get a new little piece of an image, a new little bit of information, there you see it. We see a bunch of Sentry #1 selling. And now it's not like, the complete utter domination that we saw with the Todd McFarlane, sketch variant, which I think is probably going to be the #1 book. But this is still a decent amount of sales coming off of a trailer. Again, I still think that this behavior is always interesting to talk about because, it's been a long time since this has been the repeatable formula, especially the Marvel ones, which at this point, the MCU, we've had conversations about this. The MCU doesn't have that same effect because every book has been spec'd on to death. But every time we do see a flurry of activity, I still find that very impressive. It's very interesting because who are the people at this point that, haven't bought the Sentry book yet? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are always, coming into comic books and they're new or they haven't bought the book and they want to get the book and all that stuff. But as far as the FOMO buying of it, to me, it's always a little surprising that we still get that. Although I think that this is genuinely a different type of FOMO. I don't necessarily know if this is the FOMO where people think they're going to buy this book and then they're going to get rich. I think that this is the kind of FOMO where people want to buy the book because they just want to be able to hold it while they sit in the theater, munching on their popcorn and going with the Leonardo DiCaprio meme saying, hey, there's the Sentry. I also have this comic book. I think it's that type of FOMO. Much like this book right here. Once again, Incredible Hulk number 449, first appearance of the Thunderbolts. Look at how many sales for this book that we actually got yesterday coming off that trailer. I mean, this is a lot. I mean, now this is a fairly common book. It's always going to have a few sales, on any given day. But man, I mean, coming off that trailer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 25, 30 sales or so. It's a decent amount. And we're still pretty early. We're going to have more throughout, the course of the week as, people start to talk about it. But again, another book that, it's not necessarily selling anywhere near its peak as far as what it was once going for back at the height of 2021, where this was actually selling for over $1,000. But it is kind of crazy to see that here we have a 9.8, if I can find it, Scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down. For selling for $300 right there. $300 for the 9.8, which is the highest number that this book has gotten, in this calendar year, which albeit it's only been 2 months into the year, but also it's the highest number that this book has gotten. You have to go all the way back to, summer of 2023, earlier in 2023, when this was more around the $300 price point. I mean, most recently, it's more like a $250 book, mid 200s or so. So there you go. Incredible Hulk 449 is back once again on the map, selling because of the Super Bowl trailer and Megacon hype and people being excited about comics once again. Now, this is kind of funny. Before we wrap it up, I just kind of want to talk about this, a little bit of a cultural thing related to the comic book market. I mean, the thing about comics is that comic books are cultural, right? Like what sells in terms of movement out there on secondary market or what has attention has everything to do with what is happening in pop culture. Now, sometimes pop culture can be movies. Sometimes pop culture can be great artists like Mark Spears just taking over the comic book market. And sometimes pop culture can be Super Bowl halftime performances with Kendrick Lamar. Now, it's not like that this book actually sold during the Super Bowl. I would be blown away if it actually sold during the halftime performance. But, leading up to the Super Bowl, just, a day or two before it, with Kendrick Lamar, getting a lot of attention, we had a sale for the television book. Remember this one from San Diego Comic-Con back in 2023? This Drake versus Kendrick Lamar beef book right here, the Street Fighter II homage. We actually got a sale, a 9.8 sale, selling for $140. And I just thought that this would be kind of fun to throw in this video and talk about it because, it's a cultural event. You have things going on in pop culture. You got this beef still going on with the performance, and you get a sale for it. Much like this one right here. I don't know about you guys, but I gotta hide my For You Instagram page because all of a sudden you go to Megacon, or you're looking at Megacon stuff, and all of a sudden you start getting fed a bunch of Luna Snow cosplays. Okay, I don't click on them. Okay, I don't click on them. I just scroll past them. My For You page, as I want to go to highlights of Patrick Mahomes getting sacked. But I can't help it. The algorithm still pushes it to me because the Luna Snow cosplays at Megacon were huge. And, going back to Marvel Rivals and everything we talked about, as far as that effect on the comic book space, I mean, I think that cons are going to be big this year. And that includes the cosplays. And some of those cosplays are going to be, on people's Instagram feeds. And then they're going to want to buy the comic book related to that cosplay because it's all a pop cultural thing. Anyways, that's all for this video. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about that Super Bowl? Man, the Philadelphia Eagles just whooped their ass. Pardon my French. I mean, that was incredible. I mean, Howie Roseman is a legend. Howie Roseman, the GM of the Eagles, that guy, we need to put some respect on that guy's name. Howie, Eagles ownership. Who's the owner of the Eagles? Let me know in the comments. I will trade you guys Kyle Shanahan and our first round pick and John Lynch for Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman wouldn't make that trade because Howie Roseman knows what he's doing. But I wish the Niners had him on this team. Anyways, that's all for this one. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think of the Super Bowl? What do you guys think of Megacon? Did you go to Megacon? Did you buy anything? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next video.